Alright, come join Kyle, John and David as they go through what's on the playlist, find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest, in and out points, no celebs and the gossip, back in time where we talk about the big M's, coming attractions, what the cue, quick checks, who'll be laughing, you abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast we hear all latest in television, entertainment news with somebody else with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and a third one is
Kyle Bridger. Yeah, there I am. I would say that, well, now I got to give John the thing.
Yeah, I'm a little rusty.
I'm the action star. John's the comedy, the romance, and the comedy.
Oh,
and
wow.
Dave, you're going to be our horror movie today because I'm horrified of what you're going to tell me.
Yeah, I'm horrified. I'm going to make you scared with these results, I think. I think you're going to be real terrified when you see the results of our summer box office draft. But it may, who knows, maybe somebody else will be laughing all the way to the bank. Maybe that'll be John. We'll see. We'll wait and see. And we're going to talk about all the movies and how they did this summer at the box office. We'll settle up that big bet and that draft that we always do. But first, we have this segment. John, what is it?
in and out points.
In oder out. In oder out. In, out.
Forgot that too.
Yeah, wow. Oh boy. Someone needs a break, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Our first in and out point tonight. I mean, it's the biggest story. We don't have too much to say about it, but we have to mention it. The biggest story is nearly after 150 days, the WGA, the Writers Guild of America, and the AMPTP have made a tentative deal to end the writers' strike. It still needs to be voted on by the WGA members, but since we don't have the deal points tonight, and for most of the WGA, neither do they, we don't have too much to say tonight. But we have to mention it. Obviously, we still have, SAG on strike, the Screen Actors Guild. Hopefully, with the inroads that the WGA made on some of the topics that overlapped with SAG, hopefully the SAG strike will hopefully be settled soon. But any quick thoughts, Kyle, on the strike number one coming to an end?
Yeah, I mean, since we don't know the details yet, it's kind of hard to say who won or whatever. But I got to imagine that if a deal was done, that AI was taken care of in some way, and the residuals with streamers was taken care of in some way. Because without those two, I think those were the two biggest points. Yeah. I think that we were seeing. So,
and those are the two biggest ones I think that SAG is also fighting for, especially AI. So obviously some things will be a little different, but if WGA could make inroads on those areas, hopefully that means they'll carry it over to SAG, and that will speed up that process.
And I think the writers were also wanting to make sure that there was mandatory minimums on staffing, that it just couldn't just be one person that was just doing the entire thing. So, yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out, because I know some showrunners were upset about it. The dude that made Yellowstone was upset about, if I have an idea for a show. He's so hard
to please, that guy.
Yeah, if I have an idea for a show, can't I just make it on my own? I mean, I don't know. I feel like anything could be helped with a few more ideas, or if you have a couple of other people there kind of guiding you. Yeah.
And also it helps, one of the things that a lot of the writers talked about going through this is well, yeah, if you just have one person doing it over and over and over again, no new people will be able to learn how a writer's room goes or how a show is run, and to get those opportunities to be on set as a writer. And it's well, then you're kind of stopping the pipeline of new talent. We're just gonna have all these 7 showrunners, and that's it for Hollywood. Nobody else will be able to break through and tell their story and have their voice be heard. But overall, that's good. We're on a good track here. I'm glad to see it. But this next story here, one we're going to be really kind of talking about a little bit, is is Amazon. I mean, probably part of the AMPTP, and Amazon's $1 trillion company, and seemingly, I guess that is not enough for them because it was announced this week that Amazon Prime Video will now include advertising during all shows and movies starting next year. Can't remember which one of you guys sent me this, but John, you're already shaking your head. Your thoughts on Amazon Prime Video forcing ads, unless you want to pay the $2.99 a month in the US to keep the service ad free.
The reason why I don't have things like Hulu is because they put ads in paid content. What are we paying for? If we're access, there's plenty of ways to get the stuff without paying. Really, we're paying for the convenience, and you're taking away the convenience from us. I mean, one of the big things that Steam, like a game store on PC and stuff like that, has made such good headway in combating piracy is that it's so convenient to use, and it definitely changed my outlook on gaming and stuff like that. And you're seeing kind of a reflection of this here, where you're going to make it harder for people to get the content they want. They're not going to go to you for it. They'll go for somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's just a sign of all the companies are jumping in on this, and we'll get to that in a second. But $2.99 a month if you want the service to be ad free. So in other words, if you want Amazon Prime Video, it's going to cost you $14.99 a month with ads, and then the ad free option will now be $17.99 a month. We're getting to be $18, $20 a pop for each one of these: HBO Max, Hulu, Disney Plus. And I know Kyle's gonna say it. So it's cable again. You're gonna have to buy all of these, each individual one, watch the ads, like cable forced us to do. So we're regressing back to that.
Because that's the model that suits them. What they don't realize is technology is moving past that. That model is done. I think these streamers are now battling small content stuff from Instagram or YouTube,
TikTok,
and I think they're gonna end up losing, and more stuff like this where we're adding more ads into stuff. And the thing is like we're already paying for a service. I wouldn't be surprised if Prime Video now becomes separate from Prime in general, and you don't
isn't that like Freevee? Wasn't it the whole thing of
Yeah.
Freevee that we had to watch it for jury duty? It's like, yeah, this is part of Amazon, but this one has the ads, but it's free. But now Amazon, which didn't have ads, you already were paying for it. Now you're gonna have to pay more for that. It's like,
Yep.
yeah,
It doesn't make any sense when, like John said, we're already paying for stuff. It's like, what are we paying more onto? And you can't even guarantee that this money, so what they would say with the old way was like, oh, the advertising dollars will go kind of back to the show, like we're putting it back toward that. But it's like Amazon. They're just trying to get more cash,
They already are $1 trillion company.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just they're double dipping. It's we're paying for the content, and then they're also getting money from advertisers, because we're watching the content. It's just like it's literally two prices for one experience. And it took a while for me to find like a clear answer on this, but and I'm still like not 100% sure, but I'm leaning towards like this is also affecting the Prime subscribers who pay whatever, it's like $140 for their annual membership and then get Prime Video on the side. You're also going to have to pay the $2.99 a month to get rid of those ads. But for me, it's like I barely use Prime Video. That is literally like just, oh, that's like a nice little thing because I'm buying whatever toilet paper and dish soap and whatever from Amazon. Oh yeah, I got Prime Video. Cool. I'll check out that, The Boys here, whenever that comes out. But to have to spend $3 like a month, like it's not worth it. It's not worth it. The quality is not there, and they're following in the footsteps of Disney Plus and Hulu, which in August announced their ad-free plans will rise $3 more each. And it's like, okay, so now it's $14 for Disney Plus, It's $18 for Hulu if you want to ad free. But like, you guys have some nerve doing this now when literally the well of content is drying up. I mean, sure, the WGA
Mhm.
they worked out the strike, but like it's going to be a while before any new content comes. And so
Mhm.
what are we paying for? Like, you're increasing the prices and there's less content.
Yeah.
It's not adding up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a good equation for sure. I think just a lot of people are going to start shrinking which services they really want, and maybe even doing like you do, Dave, where it's like, oh, I'll tap in for a month, watch as much as I can, tap out, because it's not cost effective
Yeah.
anymore, and it's not. And I hate to say it's not like a necessity. I mean, when was the last really thing that everyone was watching at one time? Is Game of
Yeah,
Thrones,
Game of Thrones.
maybe?
Yeah.
But now the only thing that these services are trying to do is get live TV sports on,
Yeah.
because that's the biggest
They need some
moneymaker that
kind
they
of
can get with
appointment
ads.
viewing. Yeah. They
Yeah.
need something that everyone goes to at a certain time because, oh, like a little trickle of people this week. Oh, a little more this
Mm.
week. It's like, it's not going to last. You can't have something, like you saw all this stuff. It's like, oh, this stuff hasn't performed well in the last 2 years. Let's just take it off the service so we don't have to pay
But
residuals.
yeah, the other thing I think about when they do all this stuff for their stockholders, but at what point it's like, do they run out of innovative ways to get money from the consumer? It's like, we've already done the ads, the subscription service, and so at what point are they like,
Is,
what's next
is
for
the
them to try
bundle
and,
is the
because
bundle next where they're all going to work together? It's like, oh, well, Amazon's $20, Disney Plus $20. What if we offer you both of these and these companies come together for
yeah,
$38? It's like, oh,
yeah,
wow, innovative. It's just,
uh-huh.
but I don't know. We'll wait and see when Amazon, figures this out and it gives us ads for when we're watching Gen V and, The Boys season, whatever, whenever that comes out.
It
But
could just be ads for their own stuff, their own
yeah,
products,
it
all
could
the
be,
ads for their own products.
could be.
Oh, that'd
Uh,
be weird if it starts advertising like, like you said, dish soap. It's like, oh, try some Dawn. Like,
yeah, and then it's like press this button on your remote, add to your cart.
Yeah.
Oh, or you know how it does already the actors on the bottom? They're like,
Yeah,
product placement, Dawn, like in the car, you know what I mean?
yeah. But all right. The WGA strike is heading to a close. The SAG strike is still going on, and while some celebs are finding unique ways to support crew members whose healthcare benefits are currently at risk with these strikes, and this is a very unique way here. In a series of eBay auctions organized by the Union Solidarity Coalition, anybody could bid on experiences with celebrities, ranging from a Zoom call with Nicole Kidman to playing Mortal Kombat with Kumail Nanjiani while his wife Emily Gordon, commentates the event here. So I don't know if you guys saw this week. I think that they just ended like 2 days ago, these auctions, but all these wild, just kind of like experiences with celebs, for a good cause to help the crew members who, maybe healthcare is at jeopardy right now with the strikes going on. But I saw like there's a dinner with Bob Odenkirk and David Cross. Natasha Lyonne will help you with the New York Times Sunday crossword puzzle. Lena Dunham will paint a mural in your home. Adam Scott will walk your dog, and you can take a pottery class with Busy Phillips. Any of these jump out to you? Any of these, sound fun that you want to maybe check out?
I did not even know that this was a thing, but oh man, these could like scare me because like, do they take it seriously and they're nice, or could they just be miserable and they're trying to, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, like I would love to do the dinner with Bob and David Cross, but it's just like, man,
Until they
I
start
would.
roasting you or
Yeah, they
something, you know
roast
what I
me or
mean?
like, I don't want to like, what am I going to talk about? Like, I'm
Yeah,
going to geek out about Breaking Bad and Arrested Development, and they're like, all right. Like, do you want to like
yeah,
just talk about,
yeah. Thanks, kid.
whatever? It's like, no, I paid for my meal. You're sitting here and we're getting dessert, like I'm
yeah,
stretching this out. But it's just like, I do like, some of the interesting ones. Like, yeah, like, you can work on the crossword puzzle, with Natasha Lyonne, or, you
yeah.
can like the idea like Lena Dunham's going to come into your house and like paint a mural in your like home. Like, that's just so weird. But like,
I know.
hey, it's all for a good cause. I just what's what's fun about this was like it also took the internet by storm with like some really like fun fake auctions. There's like a bunch of them, with just different celebs, and Florence Pugh will tell you, what happened on the Don't Worry Darling set over a boozy brunch. You can get drunk with the cast of It's Always Sunny as they belittle and insult you while they stay in full character. You can sit in absolute silence with Nathan Fielder for an hour. Like, it's just it. The internet had a field day with all these just like random, like celeb moments. Yeah, Philip and Elizabeth Jennings will give you an all expense paid trip to Moscow. Like, it's fun little things with the. So it was at the end of the day, it's some positive stuff, all for a good cause. So win-win.
Yeah. Just wait, Dave, look in the chat for what
Yeah.
yeah. Jesus.
That's you're
I'm
not getting us
terrible.
canceled, man. I'm not doing that one.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So
But I just saw Nathan Fielder popped up.
Yeah.
Anything with Nathan Fielder is going to be scary to me.
yeah. I mean, Aubrey Plaza will straight up kill you. It sounds like in
Yeah.
one. Again, that was the fake one. That was one of the fake ones. But all right, here. Let's get to the main attraction tonight. The reason why we're here, it's the box office draft results. It's our 6th annual box office draft. And just to set things up here, each host got to pick 3 movies that opened wide between May 1st and the first day of fall, which was just this past Saturday, the 23rd. Now, the domestic totals, domestic is very important here. Those will be added up through Friday, the 22nd, to see which host pick the best 3 films. That date's important again because some of our films are still in the top 10. They're still making money, after, 2 or 3 months being in theaters here. I'm going to run through who had what, and then we'll go film by film, and we'll really kind of break down the numbers, and we'll discuss, what went right, what went wrong, stuff like that. Let's see here. So, John, you had the number 1 pick in the draft. So you went first. We did a snake draft, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Your team was Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Elemental, and Fast X. Those were your 3 films. I had the second pick in the draft, and I went with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, then Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and then Barbie. Barbie was the number 8th pick, my last pick. So it was the second to last pick in overall draft here. Let's see what Kyle had. Kyle had Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse for his first pick. And then he had Oppenheimer with the back-to-back pick there. And then he ended the draft number 9 with The Flash. But that's not all. That's not all, because last week with Bard predicting the Emmys, Bard was also involved. We let Bard pick any film that Bard wanted to. And these were Bard's 3 picks. It was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, The Little Mermaid, and Fast X. None of my films made the list. You guys had a film each in there, and Little Mermaid is the wild card. No one picked that. So we'll have to see how everyone did here. All right. Last year's top story was, Top Gun Maverick. That was the film. That was the one everyone was talking about. And this year, we got another film. Not Mission Impossible. It's Barbie. Barbie, the number 1 movie of the summer, I think, of the year.
Yeah.
We'll break this one down a little bit. Of course, we talked about it when we did Barbenheimer, but this was my initial, like, on my list of like I picked like 10 or 11 films that draft. This was number 6 on my board, and it was obviously drafted number 8 out of 9 films. It was my last pick there because I think it was such a question mark. Like, the trailer was so hard to pin down. Like, what is this movie? Who is it for? It's a PG-13 movie, but it turns out it was for everybody. Everybody went to see this film. 628 million domestic, 791 million international, for a worldwide total of $1.4 billion and counting. It's still in the top 5. So
yeah, it's crazy. It was just a behemoth. The marketing was crazy. Yeah. I just didn't know with
No, I
it
don't
was
think
a
anyone.
risky pick.
Too big
It
of a
was
question
No
mark.
risky.
idea.
It was a risky pick. I mean, my initial guess was like, oh, maybe like 200, 225 if I'm really lucky, if it really clicks. But 628 million.
Yeah.
It's the biggest opening weekend of the year, the biggest opening for a female director, the biggest opening for a movie ever, like based on a toy. It was every record. It's just like its opening weekend was bigger than some of the entire domestic totals of films we'll talk about tonight. Like that's crazy. It made more in one weekend than the entire domestic run of some of the other films.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, and like the tracking just kept getting better. I remember like, oh, it'd be like, oh, it's gonna open to like 40 million. And then like,
Hmm.
it kept changing. And like in like 6 weeks, it was like 3 times of what it was supposed to be. And then opening weekend
Yeah.
came and it was bigger than that. It just,
Yeah, it was
you know,
huge. I mean, the people were posting it, getting changed,
dressed up.
dressed
Yeah.
up, going to theaters, taking photos. The theaters had like booths set up for
Yeah.
the whole Barbie
They went all out with
campaign.
marketing. Yeah.
I know, and I mean, people were getting changed across in like small theaters too.
Yeah.
So it's not just like doing these costumes and all these outfits for small theaters. So yeah, it was just a huge hit of the summer. Yeah, it's just tough to compete. It's crazy that you got that with the 8th pick, but it was
It
just
was,
too risky to take
yeah.
something
Yeah.
to
I think
take
at
it
that
earlier.
point, I think I just saw your teams. I'm like, I gotta take a risk. I
Yeah.
gotta, risk it for the biscuit and just and like the timing was like really tricky with this one too, because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, July was crazy packed. I mean, it was a week after Mission Impossible, the same weekend as Christopher Nolan, and both of those films, yeah, I mean, or Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's film,
Mhm.
both films had a bigger, like pricier movie screens. It had the IMAX, it had the
Mhm.
Dolby, it had all those things. Barbie was just going to be in regular theaters, and yet it still was able to make so much money over
Yeah.
those films. And I just worry. I mean, I think we talked about this briefly on the Barbenheimer podcast, that it's going to be terrible when Hollywood takes all the wrong lessons from this, and it'd be like, let's see, why did this movie connect? It's like, do they
Well, didn't
want
they
you?
are
Do they
didn't
want unique films with a female director? No, that's not it. They want toy films. We want IP. We want the Viewmaster. We want Rock'em Sock'em Robots. We want Polly Pocket. It's like, no, we don't. We don't want any
Yeah.
of those. Like,
Yeah, I mean they've already taken the bad route
yeah,
with what they've been given, I don't know. It's we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do. But I mean, this thing was like a whole event. It was a unique IP and they did a unique adaptation for it. So
yeah,
I don't know if the same luster is going to be there for other smaller IPs because Barbie's
yeah,
a huge brand.
yeah. And the cast and just I mean, it was just also a good movie. The reviews were good,
Yeah.
and people,
Yeah.
talked about it. And I think it also helped. I think this film benefited a bit more than Barbie did with the Barbenheimer. But Oppenheimer, let's talk about that film here. The number 4 film of the summer.
Mhm.
Uh, this was a good pick, Kyle, because I will say this was a weak spot for me. I initially had it on my list. I'll admit it. I'll be the bigger person. I had it number 9 on my list,
Oh wow.
to pick. And I remember, I think we talked about it on the pod. I can't remember, John, if you were like kind of with me on this, on the back in April when we were doing the pod, and when you took it, as your second pick, Kyle, number 4 overall,
Mhm.
you were like, really, you don't have this film higher? I'm like, well, I want to see it. I just didn't
Mhm.
think it was going to connect. Am I crazy, John? Were we kind of like,
No, we were talking about that. We're talking about how a rated R movie limits the pool of people who can go see it, which didn't, because there were definitely people bringing their children to Oppenheimer. When I saw it, there was a kid in front of me who was like 6, but whatever.
yeah, I mean, it was a rated R period piece, a biography, parts of which were in black and white. I mean, there was a lot of stuff against it. And I think, like, if you look at Nolan's past stuff, take out Batman, take that stuff out. Dunkirk, 189 million, Interstellar, 188 million. So I'm like, all right, I'm assuming this film's going to be about that, being
Mhm.
180, 200 maybe, but to make 319 million domestic, 916 million worldwide, it's a $1 billion film. It's the biggest biofilm ever. To beat Bohemian Rhapsody for that title.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about this pick, Kyle.
I mean, I just thought I would go with Christopher Nolan. I thought, he does everything so well. And I was using Dunkirk and all those as kind of a blueprint. I thought this could get 200 plus. And wherever I was picking, whatever, I don't know what pick choice was, 6.
This was your number 2, but 4th overall.
Okay. I was just high on it. I just thought it was going to be good. I think people still love to this day World War II stuff and anything associated with it. So it had that. And also it had its own little hype in a way, because we talk about Mission Impossible, they had that jump, right? Well, with this movie, all you heard was this bomb. You're going to explode out of your seat, basically. You know what I mean? It's just like the way they were talking about this bomb. And I remember even you said in the review, you're like, I was expecting a little bit more, I think, because of how hyped this bomb was,
it's just hyped up.
And I think it probably did benefit from the Barbie hype and the fact that they were, it probably got some audiences there that wouldn't normally go. But it was still a great film, and I don't think it would have gotten as many people if it was like more confusing, like something like Tenet or something like that. I think it's straightforward. People can relate to it. They know about World War II, that kind of stuff. So
definitely. And I think, you talk about Barbenheimer. I think it also benefited a little bit kind of from like the misstep of Mission Impossible. It came out a week before and we thought like, oh boy, like it's these two, like which one's gonna like be able to do it? Mission Impossible with Top Gun Maverick, it's PG-13 versus the rated R Oppenheimer. Mission Impossible get the week before the leg up, but Oppenheimer got those IMAX screens and just commanded July and August for specifically probably like adults and that audience. But let's talk a little bit about Mission Impossible. While the other two films so far we've talked about have exceeded expectations, I think this one definitely, did the opposite. It was dead reckoning. This one was tough. I mean, this is number 8 for the summer. It made $172 million domestically. John, you went with number 1 overall. Obviously you saw Top Gun's Maverick, the success of that led you to a big win last summer. This one just didn't connect. What happened?
That and the bike stunt, I think, grabbed me, and it seemed like it would do pretty good, and it ended up not doing that well. But I don't know. I still enjoyed it. I kind of do wish they hadn't split it into 2 parts, because now I'm kind of like, well, I was a little unsatisfied with the ending because of that. But just hoping to strike gold, I guess, and I didn't. But
you can't catch lightning in a bottle twice with Tom Cruise.
Betting on Tom Cruise, trying to, anyways. It was a good bet.
It was good, it definitely. I mean, especially with how much Top Gun was, and it's like, all right, that audience was there. They were excited for that action film. Why wouldn't they be excited for this action film with all the ads we saw, the little behind the scenes before Avatar? Like, it's just, for some reason, Mission doesn't hit as high. Like maybe it's an older franchise, has now 7 installments. Fallout, kind of was like when the peaks of it, that made 218 million domestically. But Top Gun made 718 million last summer. It's just, I don't know. And maybe it's a bunch of different factors. I mean, like the weekend, like we talked about, like if this played in August, it might have been a whole different story. Like, I think it's just, the week before Barbenheimer, Oppenheimer took all the IMAX and Dolby screens from the film. IMAX even tried persuading Paramount to change the release date to get the better IMAX returns, but they refused. They stuck with it. They're like, we want to be the top dog. We're not moving. And it's like, well, look what happened. Like,
I mean, they probably weren't betting on that whole marketing campaign being so huge for, Oppenheimer and Barbie. They probably thought they had it with Tom Cruise. If they're the first ones to get out there, that's gonna be able to hold the audiences. But I don't know. Probably would have been better to go in August.
Yeah. And John, you mentioned this. I think the part one also doesn't help.
Yeah.
Don't do this, I think. It's like
Yeah.
it signals like before you go to the theater, oh, I'm not getting a full movie. Oh, I'm gonna get a
Yeah.
cliffhanger. I'm getting like, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was initially going to be like a part one, part two, I guess, in the title. But they stopped that. They didn't do that, and I think that helped the film because when we get to that, like when I went to see it in theaters, I had people like when the film ended being like, "Wait, what? I gotta come back? That's it?" Like, they were kind of
Mm.
like, "Oh, really?" And maybe you had those people like staying home, like, "Oh, this is not a full movie. Ah, I'm not going. I'll wait." It's
Yep.
like I think it was like a weird marketing thing. Just call it because it kind of told a complete story. Sure, there was a couple things that will carry over to the next film, but like this could have been Dead Reckoning, and then the second, whatever could have been another made up Fallout Ghost Protocol title. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But
Yep.
I don't know. The next film we can talk about just made 2 million more than Mission Impossible 7, and it's one of my films, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This is number 7 for the summer. This was my second pick. Yeah, it was also my second pick on my list as well, behind Guardians of the Galaxy. I was thinking, all right, maybe 300 million, if Kingdom of the Crystal Skull could get 317 million, that was 2008. This one has to be making more. Nope, no, it didn't. It made 174 million.
Well,
So,
I think probably that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull kept people away from this one, probably. Honestly.
I was just hoping, like, okay, James Mangold, you got like, all right, like maybe you give some good reviews. What was it? Logan did really well, critic wise. It's like, okay, like this could be it. But I think maybe people said, goodbye, like back in 2008 to Indiana Jones. And then this one is like, we already had the last ride. We're not
Yeah.
doing another last ride.
Yeah.
There's like no goodwill left after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And again, maybe, I thought the July 4th holiday could help it. But then it went through the ringer with Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, Barbie, that triple header in July, a couple weeks later. It just, I don't know. It's just what a bomb for Disney because this thing had about $329 million production budget,
Oh my
$100 million in
gosh.
marketing. So you're looking at 429 million and it made 174. And normally you go by the old motto here of it's about half. That's what the studios take from all that. They have to give all that other half to like the movie theaters and stuff like that. So it's like it's only making, well, I guess I'll look at the worldwide number, 382 million worldwide, 400 million. You make 200 million back. You spent 429 million at least. That's not
Yikes.
good.
Not good.
Not good.
Yikes.
Not
I heard
good.
very mixed things about this movie, anyways.
Yeah. And I was all set to see it. I was excited. I binged the 4 movies to, gear up for this. Like I was ready to go see it. And then I'm like, oh, these aren't really there for it. All right, maybe I'll just wait till it drops on whatever Paramount Plus or Disney Plus or whatever
Mm.
plus. But um, but yeah. What's really interesting, the real action star of the summer wasn't Indiana Jones. It wasn't Ethan Hunt. It was our number 6 film above these 2 films here. It was Tim Ballard.
Oh my God.
That's the character that Jim Caviezel plays in Sound of Freedom, the strangest surprise of the summer. And
Yeah.
none of us, or really anyone in Hollywood at all, probably had this on their radar. And yet, it's the number 6 film of the summer. It made
Yeah.
183 million domestic. So it beat out films like Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible and, a few others that we're going to be talking about tonight. This is wild.
It is wild. Yeah.
I saw this like stat that like even in Mission Impossible's second weekend, which was, Barbenheimer that weekend. So Barbenheimer weekend, the top 4 at the box office: Barbie, Oppenheimer, Sound of Freedom, Mission Impossible. It
Wow.
made more money in the second weekend than Mission Impossible did.
Wow.
It's that like I don't
But
know what happened here. Like it's
yeah,
such a
well,
weird. I mean, well, I got some possible things about it, and for those who don't know, I'll say it real quick. The plot centers around Ballard's Operation Underground Railroad, an anti-sex trafficking organization that has reported connections to the QAnon conspiracy supporters. That's what some of the filmmakers are supposedly involved with. And recently, the real life Ballard has had some allegations against him for sexual misconduct. So it's a very tough film. I mean, it's just, and the thing that's really odd about this movie is the pay it forward marketing gimmick behind this thing. I don't know if you guys know about this, but multiple outlets and moviegoers have reported that theaters are claiming that the film is sold out, though seats in the auditoriums were empty. Now, some attribute this to this pay it forward sales by Angel Studios, the studio behind Sound of Freedom. A message at the end of the film from the stars of the film urge viewers to buy an extra ticket, quote, for someone who would not otherwise be able to see this film, suggesting many of the extra tickets were left unused, resulting in a mostly empty, sold-out show and unoccupied seats. However, for the sake of the box office draft, ticket sales is box office. So it made money. Who knows if people actually saw the film? But
yeah, I want to know, like, how many people actually watch this film? That like, where are the audiences? Where I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in the same circles that are listening or watching this stuff.
I hope you're not,
I don't
Kyle.
know.
I hope you're not.
I don't know, man.
But
But you know what this means? That this studio or whatever that made this movie, production company or whatever, they're gonna have loads of cash.
Yeah, because
to make another thing that they want to do.
This did not have the $429 million
No.
production and marketing budget that Indiana Jones did. That's for sure. So it's just like this company is going to be making more and more and more and more because they made 200 some million worldwide on this film, which probably cost $7.95, and that's I'm meaning like $7.95, like whatever craft services that Jim Caviezel wanted that day. Like that's probably the price of it. But oh man, I don't have much more to say with this. I did not, of course, see this film. I don't know anyone who has, so not much to say about this. But let's do a quick check-in and see where we all stand right now. We're going through like the top 12 of the summer, and here's the spots we have so far. I'm in blue, Kyle's in green, John's in red. So far, we got number 1 with Barbie, number 4 with Oppenheimer, 6 with Sound of Freedom. Nobody picked that. 7, Indiana Jones, number 5, and then number 8 on the list, Mission Impossible 7. So that's where we're at so far. Let's go to the bottom. Let's go to the 12. Let's look at the biggest bomb of the year, The Flash.
Oh man, don't remind me.
I'm
dude.
sorry,
It's
man.
Terrible.
$108 million domestic. Just
Terrible.
that 100 million. Even my conservative guess of 200 million was double what it ended up with.
This thing was an absolute turd from the start, man. Just terrible. Well, it doesn't help that they call the movie The Flash, and it doesn't seem like it's a Flash movie. It seems like it's a mixture of Batman and The Flash. Don't know what's happening there. I haven't seen the movie. I have no desire to see the movie. Not to mention, we got our lead star can't really market this thing because he's an absolute wild child. That is a good way of putting it. But he's done some crazy stuff. And the fact that you still released it because it was in the can and you couldn't do anything with it anyway. I mean, looking back now, it's like obvious that this thing was going to stink. But at the time, I was like, oh, they're doing a really big marketing push. They're really advertising the heck out of it. Maybe this will be a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, this was like, I think, a wild card with actually Barbie. I mean, if you look at the original Aquaman, made over 300 million. It's like, okay, maybe this one, because DC was really hyping it up. Sure, James Gunn is definitely biased, but he's like one of the greatest superhero films ever made. Ben Affleck was like the movie's really good. It's the best, S that I've done as Batman. And then Tom Cruise, who's not involved in the film at all, it's like it's everything you want in a movie. So like everyone was hyping this thing up. They tried to really play into the nostalgia of Michael Keaton with Batman. Like, yeah, because as you were saying, is it a Flash movie? It's like this poster alone, it's mostly Batman. Like, it's just they had the multiverse angle, which is really big, with a lot of movies right now. But yeah, you have this problematic star with Ezra Miller, who's not able to promote the film. Plus, there's two of them in it. It's like, it's just like, oh, two Ezra Millers for this. I can't do one, and now we got two in this movie. It's just, and there was like, I saw that there was like so many like fan screenings. It's like, get people hyped up for this film. The super fans, get to watch it for free. It's like, well, maybe don't show your fans the film for free just for the buzz. Maybe let them pay for it, to get a bigger opening. But what's really funny is I think you mentioned it, like with like the marketing and stuff. Warner Brothers Discovery would have actually been better off just releasing it on Max, or maybe not even at all, because they spent $150 million on marketing.
Oh my God.
And as we've talked about, studios keep, like out of the global grosses, half. Worldwide, this film made 268 million. Divide that by 2. The theaters keep half, studio gets half. They get $134 million. They spent 150 on marketing alone. So they lost money just on the marketing. So if you just didn't market this film, if you just put it on Max, it would have been better for the bottom line. Or even just gotten rid of it, like the Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
Like, right off. Like,
that's probably what they should have done, honestly.
But yeah. DC is just in trouble. I mean, Shazam 2 didn't connect with 57 million. Black Adam 168. Aquaman 2 is coming out in December, but we just got the first trailer for the film like in the last week. That's not a good sign. I don't know what's going on. And it doesn't help that like you have like CEO of whatever, the DC now, James Gunn, pretty much going like, yeah, we're gonna do a reset. Like none of these films really matter. It's like, well, maybe don't say that until Blue Beetle and The Flash and all these films are done. Because why am I gonna waste my time with this if it doesn't matter?
Yeah. But what are we gonna see, like an origin story for Batman and all those again? It's just like we're doing it too many times. There's got to be some originality to it. But I'm not the superhero dude, so if fans want to see that, go for it. But I just, as a casual fan, I'm into like superheroes, but if I have to see another origin story again, I'm not gonna go. That's just all there is to it. But
yeah, I mean, to put things in a little wrapping it up with a bow here, the Flash, their total is lower than the Green Lantern. Remember the Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds? It was considered a huge bomb and terrible. The Flash made less than that.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. What a mess. Let's see, right above that, number 11 on the list with 145 million domestic, Fast X. This was number 8 on my initial list. I estimated about 146, 186. So it came in at 145. Not bad for me. I'll give lower, but a million off from my prediction. But what happened with this franchise, John?
Pass.
No.
I don't know. I was hoping for a little higher than it did. Just as a this is what my last choice.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think at that point I kind of was like, what's left? Like
Barbie was left.
Barbie was left, but again, big chance that could have been $6 or $6 billion. So I was hoping for a little bit more of a safer known quantity, but I guess maybe it wasn't as known as I thought it was. So
yeah, man, the box office has just been trending down for these. The peak was Furious 7 back in 2015. It made 353 million, but Fast X 226, Fast 9 173. Now this film 145. Sure, they do really well overseas. It made over 500 million overseas for a grand total of about 700 million worldwide. But They're gonna make Fast X now. It was supposed to be a 2-part finale. I believe it's a 3-part finale.
Yeah, and I think that didn't he mention that before the movie came out?
I think it was like at the
too?
premiere or like the red
Yeah,
carpet or something.
it's just like, why would you do that? It's the same with the part 1, part 2 stuff. It doesn't make any sense, especially with a movie like this, where haven't they gone to outer space with cars? It's like, how much further can you go? You know what I mean?
They're gonna find the multiverse. They'll team up with Ezra Miller in the Flash and go into the multiverse.
A whole other family in there.
Yeah.
It's just, it is just a mess. And I think, yeah, just make this, say it's the final one, and then 5 years from now when you release Fast 11, just be like, surprise, a new one. It's like, oh yeah, I'll check it out. But you already got the money for the the finale. So it's like you can make more on top of that. But by saying, oh yeah, we're gonna really just drag out this ending. We're gonna stretch it as much as we can, get every single dollar from you over these 3 films. It's just like, people are smart enough; they will see through that. But
Yeah.
oh well. All right, let's keep going up on the list here. Just about, I think, 9 million more than Fast X was Elemental, number 10 overall this summer. It was actually number 10 on my initial list. Did better than I thought, though. I thought it was gonna be like 100 million, and it made 154.
But it
domestic.
didn't it crush internationally?
It did good over international. It was 332 international, so it made worldwide 486 million. So this one was, I think, tough. I mean, because it opened up against The Flash. It was the number 2 film of the weekend. But then, as we're seeing, it made 50 million more. So it had some sort of legs. Like, it started off as like the worst opening for a Pixar movie in like 30 years. But like, it kind of grew, and maybe it's because there wasn't much for kids this summer.
Yeah.
It's like, it actually, I looked up some of the numbers in Encanto, a huge film. It's made 200 million more worldwide than Encanto, and that was a hit. So it's hard to say for sure. I was just really worried about like the Disney Plus of it all. I think we talked about this. Like, I really thought, during the pandemic, that adults were seeing films being released on Disney Plus from Pixar, Soul, Luca, Turning Red. And I think audience were like just getting used to it, because last year when we had, the IP favorite, from Toy Story, that huge franchise, of Lightyear, that one bombed 118 million. At least this one did better than that. But John, were you still expecting more from this, or did you kind of expect it just not to?
I was hoping for a little bit more. I mean, it didn't have too much in the way of competition. It had maybe Barbie, because we weren't sure who it was for, and Little Mermaid, which we had previously discussed, potentially had some issues with, how people were perceiving it. So I was kind of hoping that this would be like the kids one, and it would give it a little boost and bring a little bit more than it did, but it ended up not. So
yeah, it had some legs, but I think maybe it was Spider-Verse. I don't know the exact timeline of like when those movies
right.
came out, but like it might have been similar time period in that June slot, and people went with Spider-Man over Elemental. But all right, sorry John, but you are now out of the competition with 472 million total. You had the public support, though. I'll give you this. We did the polls before voting happened, before the box office started back in April, and we had 2 polls running. We had Twitter and Instagram, and you were first in both.
And I got
Popular
nothing in both.
Yeah, sorry, Kyle. I was
Oh
always
my
second.
God.
Kyle, you were third with 0 votes. Even Bard got a few
my
votes
God.
over you. But you were the number 1, popular choice. And our friend Nick Rojas even commented on Instagram and said, "I think this might be John Salu's." And it
Wow.
was. Sorry. Sorry, John.
Oh my. Oh my God. You know what I will say? John always does well internationally.
John kills internationally. Like, yeah,
that Warcraft movie. Oh.
that was huge. Like, I think it was just, if you took the international for Warcraft, I think you might still beat like the Flash, just like total. Like, it's just.
Yep.
Oh man, but all right, let's recap real quick here. Number 12, The Flash. Number 11, Fast X. Number 10, Elemental. Number 8, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Number 7, Indiana Jones. Number 6, Sound of Freedom. Number 4, Oppenheimer. And number 1, Barbie. That means we still have 2, 3, 5, and 9 to discuss. Kyle and I still have a pick on the board each. There's still that number 2 and number 3 slot here. We'll see who gets what. But real quick, let's run through the films we didn't pick. Number 9, Transformers Rise of the Beast. Just about 3 million more than Elemental with 157 million. Yeah, I wasn't expecting much from this. A lot against it, sandwiched in between Spider-Man and the Flash. The cast isn't really household names. Like Fast X, this thing was just going down and down every film so far.
But still, the fact that Transformers can make 157 million is just wild. It's crazy.
It's still, to be number 9 of the summer.
Yeah.
Beating Fast X, beating the Flash. I mean, I'll give it that. But it is wild to, but
just crazy.
Let's see here. Let's go with number 5 on the list. Nobody picked this one, but Bard. The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
I think I should have went with my initial gut because I had it number 3 on my initial list.
Yeah.
I guessed about 300 million. It did 298. This one, it was hard though, because you really had two sides. Like the last time Disney did their, live action remakes, 2019, you had 2 giant hits with Aladdin, 355 million, and Lion King, 543. But then that same year, you also had Dumbo, 114, and Maleficent, 113. It's like, where is this one going to land? And it's on Memorial Day, and sometimes that can be shaky, with Solo and Pirates 4, and it did good, 300 million.
Yeah, and it did well, and I should have realized it because in my mind, there's like tiers to Disney content, and The Little Mermaid is up with Lion King and Aladdin and not down with, Dumbo. And I don't really know Maleficent that well, but Little Mermaid's like a huge star for Disney. And I should have known that and gone with that for sure.
Yeah. But I will say, I think it was like, because it's number 3 on my list. I had number 1, Guardians, number 2, Indiana Jones, number 3, Little Mermaid. I had Barbie much lower, but it was like that game time decision. I got to go with Barbie.
Yeah.
And
because we thought the risk might pay off.
Yeah, but
sure enough, it did.
All right, so just 2 films left here, and I will say, Kyle, after July 4th, so halfway through the summer, before Barbie and Oppenheimer, you and I were just 8 million apart. I think you were leading by like 8 million. It was close, and we still have our first overall picks to discuss here. Who's going to get number 2? Who's going to get number 3?
I got number 2. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I got number 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Sure, the first weekend in May, especially with Marvel, usually it's a safe pick. And while it was on the high end of my predictions, it made $358 million. It still kind of feels low. I mean, Guardians 2 made 389, and Doctor Strange last year made 411. And this is the Guardians. I mean, this is much more popular, I feel like, than Doctor Strange. This is their swan song, and I think it's a little bit of Marvel fatigue. I mean, we've been seeing
for sure. Of course it is. Even I'm hearing now fans getting upset with it. So it's of course there's fatigue there.
Yeah, it's the lowest opening weekend for a start of summer Disney film. Normally we like this, whoever gets first pick in the draft, normally we'll go with maybe something like, that Marvel one, the first weekend in May. I got to get it because it commands the summer. It's the lowest one so far. And, last year we saw Thor underperform. Black Panther 2 made 453 versus 700 million for the first Black Panther. Ant-Man 3 earlier this year made just 212. These things aren't not doing as well as they once were. And, we also saw, when we look at like The Flash underperforming, like it's superheroes, who knows? Are we going down? I say all that, but then we look at number 2 on the list for the summer, Across the Spider-Verse. 381 million domestic, 689 million worldwide. Kyle, this was your pick. This was your number 1 pick.
Yeah, and the thing that I'll say that's about superheroes and fatigue is I feel like Marvel has a game plan, like a set structure, a feel to all of them that has made them a lot of money at this point, but now it is getting tiresome. Whereas the Spider-Man feels newer.
Yeah.
There's something different about it. It's animated, obviously, and there's
Unique,
different. Yeah. So I think that's why something like this is popular now. And I think people were excited about the first one. There was a lot of good love for the first animated movie. So I was like, I got to go with this one. Animated movie in the summer
Yeah.
about a superhero, and people loved the first one. I thought it was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. This one was so like the original back in 2018 did 190 million. So this film doubled that. It played like a live action Spider-Man. I mean, if you look at Far From Home, which, you know, the second film in the Tom Holland universe, that opened in a summer slot, made 389 million, just like about this film did. In this film's first 12 days, it surpassed the entire original's run. So it was one of those films that like the original came out, people loved it. They probably rewatched it on, you know, home video or, you know, on TV, you know, whatever. And they were so pumped for this new one to come out. And I think it helped that they got rid of the part 1, part 2 in the name like they initially planned. You know, who knows when part 3 is coming? It was originally slated for next spring, but that was never going to happen, even without the 2 strikes. Like it, you know. So I'm sure when it comes out, I'm sure the next one will do well because this one was received, you know, well. If that's like the ending, they're going out with 3, Vin Diesel. You hear that? They're not going to do, you know, 8 more parts and stretch it out for an 8-part finale. At least not yet. We'll see. But yeah, so oh boy. So that's our list. We talked about the top 12. Let's look at the results. And it's hard to build suspense when you claim a film like Top Gun Maverick or Barbie. But yes, I am the winner. You know, it was hard. It was hard to really, you know, like, you know, I like it when they're a little bit more neck and neck so I can like do like a little reveal. But it's like, yeah, I got Barbie, like, and I had Guardians. Like, it was gonna be. I made over $1 billion in domestic sales. $1,161,576,283 to be exact.
So if I had taken the Little Mermaid instead of the Flash, it would have been much closer, right?
Much closer. I mean, I think
probably
so.
would have been about 100 million off still.
I mean, let's just do the quick math here. You would have been 200 million more about with the Little Mermaid.
Yeah. So I would have been about 100 million, a couple 100 million away still.
But also,
jeez,
again, Barbie was the 8th pick. So like, and I was going back and forth on this, and I remember I said like Oppenheimer, I had it low on my list. I wasn't expecting much. So like, you probably could have gotten Oppenheimer for slot 9.
Yeah.
You could have probably gotten like Barbie, Across the Spider-Verse, and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
But
wow. Yeah.
So this means we are now all tied up. We've done 6 of these drafts. We now all have 2 wins apiece.
Really? Wow.
John, despite your win last year, unfortunately, you are 3rd with 472 million. Kyle, you know, you can assume, you know, me being number 1, John being number 3, that your team, you have number 2, number 4 films of the summer. You would logically be 2nd. Fortunately, that is not the case. Sorry, Kyle. You are actually 3rd because Bard is number 2.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so your domestic total is 809 million. But Bard picked the number 2 film with Across the Spider-Verse, the number 5 film with The Little Mermaid, and the number 12 film with Fast X. And that is our 2nd place winner with 825 million. So 825 versus your 809. You got screwed over by the Flash, man.
Yeah, the Flash was a big dud. Terrible.
Yeah, I think we have a graph to show the domestic totals to kind of give it a little bit of perspective there, how close it was between Kyle and Bard.
Wow.
But let's just, for fun, we don't do worldwide, but let's just show them real quick. These are the worldwide totals. It shifts things a little bit. It makes it much closer between John, Kyle, and Bard. John is now, is in 4th with 1.7 billion. Kyle's in 3rd with 1.8 billion. Bard is in 2nd with 1.9 billion. And then I'm still in 1st with 2.6 billion. But 2 billion
Wow.
club. But yeah. All right. What do we think? That's our draft. That's it. That's it for the summer.
Wow. Wild. I knew the Flash, man.
The Flash.
Ugh.
Well, we'll see if maybe Bart is on a hot streak. Maybe with these predictions. I mean, this is not the only time we've used Bart for predictions. Last episode, we had Bart predict the 75th Primetime Emmy Awards. That would have been this month before the strikes pushed it to January. So you can listen to Bart's predictions. Maybe, did second in the draft. It beat Two Humans. Maybe it'll be pretty good come January. We'll see. But yeah, speaking of things being pushed and, thinking about the winter months, we're going to push our next live show actually to December. That's right. The three of us have some pretty big life events this fall. So we're taking October and November off to focus on those events before coming back in December to close out the year. Not only will we recap the fall and what we missed, including the Boys spinoff, Gen V. We'll have some Oscar movies like Killers of the Flower Moon. But we're also going to need your help, like we do every year, in our annual survey for your favorite movies, TV shows, and pop culture moments from the past year. So we got a lot to do in December. We're taking October, November off. So, rest up, get ready, because December's going to be busy. And then January with the Golden Globes, Emmys, and Oscar nominations, it's going to get busy. So enjoy it now while you can. And then in December and January, get ready. And make sure you're following us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doreduncy.com. Live usually Monday nights on Twitch, twitch.tv/doreduncy. Maybe our schedule might, change a little bit in December and January. So make sure you're following us on social media so you know exactly when we're going live. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Dual Redundancy. You can follow us there. I got to thank both of you guys for joining me tonight. John, so many different graphics and things, crunching the numbers, getting this episode up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I couldn't do it without you guys. And again, thanks for just doing this crazy idea of always drafting these movies and, just I couldn't do it without you guys. And I'm going to miss you over these next 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
so-
worry.
I'm waiting
I'll
for-
be seeing you. I'll be seeing you.
Yeah, I guess I'll be seeing you guys. But until next time, until we're back in December, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.